Hey everyone, welcome to Area 616. The MCU has been going strong for a good 10 years now with over 22 separate franchises to its name, including TV shows. In that time, the MCU has introduced a ton of classic and beloved villains from the comics. The Kingpin, Loki, Ultron, the Red Skull, Ronan the Accuser, and who am I forgetting? Turk Barrett. However, there are quite a few big bads in the comics that the MCU hasn't yet introduced. Today I just wanted to take a step back and look at some of my personal favorite antagonists that haven't been introduced in the MCU yet, and talk about how I think they could be brought on. Now, I will be excluding the obvious ones. For example, everyone wants Norman Osborn and Dr. Octopus and Kang. These guys are pretty obvious. The ones I'm listing here are the ones that a lot of people love, but they're perhaps not as obvious. So with that said, here are 6 Marvel villains that haven't been in the MCU yet, but definitely deserve to be. 6. MODOK. MODOK is a weird character. He looks weird, obviously, but he's also got weird origins. His name is George Charlton. He was a scientist working for AIM, studying the Tesseract, then known as the Cosmic Cube. AIM decided they needed a better way to study it, so they created Project MODOK, which stands for Mental Organism Designed Only for Computing, to convert George into a hyper-intelligent being. It worked, but now his brain is literally so giant they have to put him in a hover chair to support it. Hence how he looks like he does. He's one of the weirdest looking characters in the MCU, which only makes me want him in the MCU even more. Where would he show up? I used to have Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as my top choice, but I think if they did it there, they wouldn't have the budget or, frankly, the guts to properly portray him as a giant floating head, and I will accept him as no less. So what is an MCU film franchise that is unafraid of being really, really weird? Yep, I think the best place for MODOK to be would be a third Ant-Man and the Wasp film, or a solo Wasp film, however they go. What really inspired this was some concept art released for Ant-Man and the Wasp, which showed them going after some classic beekeeper suit AIM agents in an early version of the movie. After seeing that, I realized that they were the perfect option for these characters. Of course, AIM was sort of in Iron Man 3, however it was barely recognizable, so I'm thinking after Killian is killed, AIM replaces him with Tarleton, and after the MODOK experiment becomes more like they are in the comics, a bit more mad scientist-y. I think it would be really hilarious to see, and it makes perfect sense. Obviously, a third Ant-Man and the Wasp movie would probably explore the quantum realm even further than before, especially if some rumors about Avengers 4 are true, so it would make sense if AIM were interested in it too. As for who would play him, well, it's pretty obvious to me. John Goodman. 5. The Chaos King. This one may not be as well known as the others on this list, but he's still a great villain. Amatsu Mikaboshi. He is the Shinto god of evil and chaos and stars, weirdly enough. He starred front and center in a comics event a couple of years back called Chaos War. It was a big crossover between Thor and Hercules and other characters. In the story, Mikaboshi seeked to destroy all the other gods. He had nearly limitless power and was a huge threat for everyone. So where would he show up in the MCU? Well, obviously a Thor movie would be a top choice, but Thor may not be around past Avengers 4, and even if he is, it might not be in solo films. So I have a couple of other choices. The first one is Doctor Strange. Strange, weirdly enough, wasn't super involved in the story, but I think Mikaboshi would work very well as his enemy. So I think a Doctor Strange movie is the top choice. But there's also another option, the Eternals. It might seem weird at first, but a casting call for the film revealed it was looking for a Greek god role, which could very well be Hercules. Circe also played a role in the story, and the Eternals are space gods, so it kind of makes sense for Mikaboshi to go after them. As for who should play him, I'm thinking Ken Watanabe should provide the voice for the role. 4. High Evolutionary. Herbert Wyndham was a scientist living in the 1920s who was doing controversial genetic experiments. When he got expelled from his university for doing those, he went elsewhere to Wendigore Mountain to continue his work. The High Evolutionary is a very powerful villain who often evolves animals into his goons. Really, he's powerful enough that he has potential as an Avengers enemy, but he's also just weak enough that he could work elsewhere too. So my top choice for the High Evolutionary is on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And this comes from his connection to the Inhumans. It was an Inhuman fighter who gave Windham the genetic info he needed to do these experiments. So I think both of these guys would really fit in well with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. My choice to play him is Michael Hatton. I think he'd do a great job in the role. 3. Enchantress. Amora the Enchantress is an Asgardian sorceress who has gone up against the Avengers themselves. In the comics, she's enacted many schemes over the years, often with the help of Scourge the Executioner. In the MCU, he's a janitor. But in the comics, she learned her skills in Asgardian magic from Karnilla, a powerful sorceress and the protector of the Nornstones. I've mentioned this several times now, but I think she'd be a great fit for Disney Plus's upcoming Loki miniseries. As I said in my video about the Loki series specifically, perhaps she could be a childhood friend of his who returns when he's older. This would be a lot like Leia in the comics. She was a servant of Hela's who befriended a reborn child Loki. So this wasn't in the past, obviously, but I think the MCU could find a way to reimagine and combine these things to make a great introduction for the Enchantress. With that in mind, my choice to play her would be Katie Sackhoff, who was the top choice for Captain Marvel. 2. Taskmaster. Tony Masters is a former S.H.I.E.L.D. agent who gained abilities known as photographic reflexes. These allowed him to mimic the fighting style of any fighter after watching them for just a little while. So, for example, he could perfectly imitate the way Daredevil, Spider-Man, and Captain America fights, and even combine those styles to create a totally new, deadly style. He's a truly awesome fan-favorite bad guy. He's kinda like Boba Fett, except he's actually done stuff to earn his fans. He's gone toe-to-toe with Captain America, Spider-Man, Deadpool, and even Iron Man. So where should he show up in the MCU? Well, there are rumors that he's in the Black Widow movie, but I'm not sure I like that. The film is reportedly set in the past, and I'd like to see a Taskmaster who is imitating the skills of big MCU superheroes. So that wouldn't really work with Black Widow. So with that in mind, there are two big options for me. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and maybe in the distant future something with Deadpool. We don't really know how Deadpool will be worked into the MCU, or even if he will at all, to be honest. So that's kind of a shot in the dark. But Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't. In the comics, he started something called Taskmaster's Academy, where he trains any criminal that can pay his price. That would be a really cool and interesting idea for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like he's a new assassin on the scene that's more skilled than any that have come before him. So the agents have to go after him. A fan favorite for Taskmaster is Jason Statham. I like that casting too, and I really can't imagine anyone else. Although I doubt Statham would be on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so I don't know. And number 1, Mephisto. Mephisto is exactly what he sounds like, a demon. Pretty simple. He rules a dimension called Hell, or sometimes Hades, but it isn't the actual Hell. It's a whole separate thing. It's a little confusing, but there you go. In the comics, he's gone up against everyone and their grandma. Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Ghost Rider, Daredevil, Doctor Doom, Iron Fist, Thor, Fantastic Four, Scarlet Witch, Wolverine, the Avengers, the X-Men, Black Panther, Mockingbird, Venom, and many, many more. He actually first appeared in a Silver Surfer comic. Because of that, I think his rights belong to Fox at the moment, but obviously all of that will change on January 1st, 2019. So, in my opinion, the best place for Mephisto to be is in a Ghost Rider series. I'd like to see the MCU Mephisto be a really competent and scary enemy, one that they play up the horror with. In that case, Ghost Rider is the best option, and he has a lot of history with him. He was the one who gave Johnny Blaze his powers, although I'd like to see Robbie Reyes be the lead of the series, of course. It's been teased by Bob Iger that Disney will be giving Hulu new series as soon as the Disney-Fox deal is through, and I believe that one of these could be Ghost Rider. It would make sense why they've been waiting for the character. They wanted to get the rights to Mephisto back before they move forward with any solo projects for Reyes. Regardless, in the chance that a Ghost Rider series or movie or whatever doesn't work out, obviously the next best option for him would be a Doctor Strange film. As for who should portray him, I'm going back and forth between Ian McShane and Giancarlo Esposito. Both would be amazing in the role. But what do you guys think? Where would you like to see these 6 bad guys appear? And what are your personal favorite Marvel villains you'd like to see in the MCU that haven't appeared yet? Ones that aren't so common, I guess. Let me know all your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.